Have you ever looked at someone else's success and immediately felt like you were falling behind? Maybe you saw someone driving a better car. Maybe you saw someone with more money, more followers, a better relationship, a better lifestyle, and suddenly, everything you had no longer felt enough. This is one of the oldest psychological traps in human history, the trap of comparison. It steals joy from the present. It creates anxiety about the future, and it blinds you to your own progress. The strange thing is that comparison never ends. When you have little, you compare yourself to those who have more. When you have more, you compare yourself to those who have even more. The target keeps moving. The satisfaction never arrives. This is why many successful people remain unhappy. They achieved what they once dreamed of, yet they still feel incomplete. Because comparison is not a problem of circumstances. It is a problem of the mind. And the Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Imagine two people standing on the same mountain. One looks down and feels grateful for how far he has climbed. The other looks up and feels miserable because someone else is higher. Both stand in the same place. Yet one feels happiness while the other feels suffering. What changed? Not their circumstances, only their perspective. This is the psychology of comparison. Your emotions often come not from reality itself, but from how you interpret reality. The Stoics believed that much of human suffering comes from mistaken judgments. We suffer not because of what we have, we suffer because of what we think we should have. Today, social media has made this problem worse than ever. Every day people display their best moments, their victories, their vacations, their achievements, their luxury, their happiness. But what you are seeing is not reality. You are seeing a carefully selected highlight reel. Yet your mind compares your entire life to someone else's best moments, and that comparison is unfair from the beginning. You see your struggles, your failures, your fears, your doubts. But you only see the polished version of everyone else. No wonder comparison makes people miserable. The game is rigged against your peace of mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that happiness depends on focusing on what is within your control. But comparison immediately shifts your attention to things outside your control. You cannot control another person's talents. You cannot control their opportunities. You cannot control their background. You cannot control their luck. You cannot control their timing. Yet many people spend years obsessing over these things. And while they watch others, their own lives remain unchanged. Comparison steals energy that could have been used for growth. Think about a runner in a race. Imagine he spends the entire race looking sideways, watching every competitor, checking who is ahead, checking who is behind. What happens? He slows down, he loses focus, he stumbles, he wastes energy. The fastest runners focus on their lane. The same principle applies to life. Your greatest progress happens when your attention returns to your own path. Not because other people do not matter, but because your life can only be lived by you. Many people compare themselves because they believe success is scarce. They act as if life is a competition with limited winners. If someone succeeds, they feel there is less success available for them. But this mindset creates resentment. Instead of learning from successful people, you become threatened by them. Instead of feeling inspired, you feel discouraged. Instead of growing, you become bitter. The Stoics rejected this way of thinking. They believed that another person's success does not diminish your potential. Someone else's victory is not your defeat. Life is not a scoreboard, it is a personal journey. Consider how absurd comparison can become. A teenager compares himself to a millionaire. A beginner compares herself to an expert. A person at the start of their journey compares themselves to someone 20 years ahead, and then they wonder why they feel inadequate. You are comparing different chapters of different stories. No two people start from the same place. No two people face the same obstacles. No two people have the same opportunities. Yet the human mind constantly ignores these facts. It simply sees someone ahead and concludes, "I am not enough." This conclusion is rarely true, but it feels true, and feelings can be powerful deceivers. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to focus on his own duties rather than the actions of others. He understood something profound. Every moment spent judging another person's path is a moment stolen from your own. Think about that. Every minute spent envying someone else. Every hour spent wishing for another person's life. Every day spent feeling inferior could have been invested in improving yourself. The cost of comparison is not only emotional pain, it is lost potential. One of the greatest dangers of comparison is that it destroys gratitude. When you compare upward, you stop appreciating what you already possess. Your healthy body becomes insufficient. Your home becomes insufficient. Your achievements become insufficient. Your relationships become insufficient. Nothing feels enough. And when nothing feels enough, happiness becomes impossible. The Stoics practiced gratitude because they understood this psychological truth. The more grateful you become, the less power comparison has over you. Because gratitude focuses on abundance, comparison focuses on lack. There is another side to comparison that many people overlook. Sometimes comparison creates arrogance. When people compare themselves to those they believe are below them, they feel superior. They become proud. They become complacent. They stop improving. This is equally dangerous. Whether comparison makes you feel inferior or superior, it still distracts you from reality. The goal is not to feel above others. The goal is not to feel below others. The goal is to focus on becoming better than yesterday's version of yourself. Imagine if you compared yourself only to your past self, not to celebrities, not to influencers, not to millionaires, not to strangers online, only to who you were 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 5 years ago. Suddenly the game changes. You begin noticing growth. You begin recognizing progress. You begin appreciating how far you have come. This form of comparison is healthy because it motivates improvement without destroying self-worth. The truth is that everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. The wealthy struggle, the famous struggle, the attractive struggle, the successful struggle. Every person carries invisible burdens. But comparison tricks you into believing everyone else has figured life out. They have not. They are human just like you. They experience fear, failure, uncertainty, loss, disappointment. The only difference is that you often do not see those parts. The Stoics encouraged negative visualization. This practice involved imagining losing what you currently have, not to create fear, but to create appreciation. Imagine losing your health, your loved ones, your opportunities, your freedom. Suddenly, many of the things you take for granted become priceless. And when gratitude grows, comparison weakens, because you realize how much you already possess. One reason comparison feels so addictive is because it provides a false sense of measurement. The mind wants certainty. It wants to know where it stands. So it constantly looks at others for validation. Am I successful enough? Attractive enough? Smart enough? Rich enough? But there will always be someone who appears better in one area. If your self-worth depends on being superior to others, you will never find peace. There is always another mountain, always another competitor, always another achievement. The chase never ends. True confidence comes from a different source. It comes from knowing that your value does not depend on comparison. It comes from understanding that your worth is not determined by your income, your appearance, your status, or your popularity. The Stoics believed your character is what matters most, your integrity, your courage, your discipline, your wisdom. These are things that cannot be measured by comparing yourself to others. So the next time comparison appears, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or is it simply making me suffer? Is this person a source of inspiration, or a source of unnecessary envy? Am I focusing on what I can control, or on what I cannot? These questions can pull you out of the comparison trap and return your attention to what truly matters. At the end of your life, you will not be judged by how closely your journey matched someone else's. You will be judged by how fully you lived your own. The Stoics understood this simple truth. Your path is unique, your challenges are unique, your opportunities are unique, and your purpose is not to become someone else. It is to become the best version of yourself. So stop measuring your life against the lives of strangers. Stop giving away your peace to comparison. Stop chasing someone else's definition of success. Instead, focus on your own growth, your own values, your own progress. Because the moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you begin living freely. And freedom, according to the Stoics, is one of the greatest forms of wealth a person can possess.